locks out its huge talons. It locks out its huge talons. And I was like, oh, you know that emoji on your phone where your head's blowing up? That was me. That was me in that moment. I'm just watching it. I'm like, I'm in complete awe at what I was watching. But then all of a sudden I start getting a little nervous. I'm like, what's happening? What is happening here? This bird is flying fast and it's getting closer and closer, and those talons are locked out. And all of a sudden it hits the water. And I'm like, this bird is going to drown. I start freaking out. I'm like, this bird is going to drown. And it's gone. Like the bird is completely submerged in the water, and I'm freaking out. Like I've never seen a bird do this before. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, where's this bird? Where's this bird? And I'm kind of freaking out. And I'm like, what is happening? And all of a sudden his little head pokes up. His little head pokes up and it starts looking left and right. And a lot of people don't realize when an osprey is doing that, it's looking for bald eagles, because the bald eagle is the biggest osprey hater in the world. It wants to steal his fish. And he's like, okay, no bald eagle around. And its wings come out. And it starts flapping its wings and flapping its wings and flapping its wings. And it flies off holding a huge fish. I was done. I was like, wait a minute. Birds can do that? Like I was like, this is not normal. This is so cool. It's like literally this miracle just developed in front of me. And I was like, first of all, what is that bird? Because I had no clue at the time what it was. So I started doing some research and I find out it's an osprey. And I was like, oh man, ospreys are super cool. So then I keep going down that rabbit hole and I do some more research. And then I find out ospreys nest in my home state of Wisconsin. I was really fired up then, y'all. I was like, wait a minute. So first of all, it's real. And I actually could go find one of these in my own state. This is not happening. This is not happening. So then I start doing some more research and I find out that they nest 10 minutes from my house. I was done again. Once again, emoji head blowing up. I was like, no way. So I started going out and looking for them. And I saw an osprey and I seen it in real life and I seen it snatch a fish and fly away. And I was done. From that day forward, I said, you know what? First of all, I'm going to keep learning everything I can about this amazing bird, the osprey, which is the logo for our birding club, by the way, which is really cool. But then I said, I'm going to learn as much as possible about every other bird. So the osprey is my spark bird. And I always tell people if they ask me what a spark bird is, that is the bird that lights that fire in you, that sparks you, that makes you want to pay attention, right? It may not even be your favorite bird. It just may be the one that got you started. So I always encourage people, share those spark bird stories with people because you never know, you might make somebody else curious and get them outside paying attention to birds. That was the start of my birding journey. And I would start looking for opportunities to go birding. And a lot of these traditional white dominated birding spaces, I would always be the only person of color. And I'm not saying that these clubs weren't doing their best or they weren't welcoming me, but when you're the only one, like all the time, it's hard to feel like it's for you. And that was literally my reality in the birding space for over a decade. And as time goes on, I'm like, you know what? I'm either a part of the problem or I'm part of the solution. And in July of 2021, we decided to become a part of the solution and start the BIPOC Birding Club of Wisconsin, where our mission is to bring people of color and allies together who share this deep love for the outdoors, birds, and the natural beauty of our state. And we started doing that. We started creating the spaces for Black and brown people to feel welcome in the outdoors, for Black and brown people and our allies to have these spaces where we can all come together. I always say this, birding is for everyone, even you. And I'm a firm believer that our birding communities should reflect and look like the birds we all love. Think about birds, folks, for a second. They're of all different colors. They're of all different sizes. They're of all different abilities. Some are fat, some are small, some can fly, some can't, some can run fast, some are super slow. Like, think about that. right? Think about birds are everything, right? And they all live together. They're all living in the world together, and we have to do that as a birding community. So if we can do that and continue to create spaces where we can build these meaningful connections and make lasting memories for people while always remembering to embrace diversity, just like the beauty of our feathered friends. I want it to be part of the solution, right? I want it to be a place where all people that were curious about birds felt welcome, right? Birding is for everyone, even you. When I first started birding, folks, only 6% of Black Americans identified as birders. Only 8% of Hispanic and Latino Americans identified as birders. We have to create a community. We have to break the cycle. There's that phrase, everybody's heard that phrase before: if you can see it, you can be it. I love that. But I always like to add on another part. If you can see it, you can be it, and you can do it, that's a different level, right? That kind of completes this cycle. And that's what we wanted to do. And this was sparked by a huge social justice movement that was sweeping our country at the time. And when you think about it, it was a call to action due to the tragic murder of George Floyd and the targeting of Black birder Christian Cooper in the ramble of Central Park on May 25th of 2020. And that created the launch of Black Birders Week by Black AF and STEM. So shout out to Black AF and STEM, because what they did during that time, and I love one of the earlier models is "we out here." And that's what Black Birders Week did for me. I was like, wait a minute, I'm not the only Black birder out here. We're over there, over there, over there, over there, over there, over there. We're literally we're in every state. There are birding clubs popping up all over the country to get Black and brown folks outside. And it was created by Black AF and STEM and Black Birders Week. And just looking at the progress that has been made since that first week of Black Birders Week to now, it just really, really blows me away. So being a part of the solution, shout out to Black AF and STEM for creating a solution to get more Black and brown people outside, specifically Black birders outside, and elevating those voices and showing people that we are out here. Our approach to our birding club, and as we were creating our birding club, I really reflected on my experiences, right? As a Black birder, going out to a lot of these traditional white dominated birding spaces and paying attention to what worked and what didn't work for me. And the first thing that I noticed in a lot of these spaces, new birders were not always welcome. New birders were intimidated to ask questions. New birders were sometimes made fun of or made to feel dumb because they're asking, maybe a basic question of like, what kind of bird in that? What bird is that right there? It has like an orange breast, is black, has a white eye ring. What is that? And they'll be like, oh, that's an American robin. You don't know that? Like, and it's like, when you're a new birder, you don't know. You may not know what a northern cardinal is. You may not know what some of these basic birds are, like a black-capped chickadee or something like that. So that was one thing that I wanted to make sure, is that all birders, especially new birders, felt welcome. So what we do before we start every event, we'll get in a circle with everyone. I'll say, hi, my name is Dexter Patterson. I use he, him pronouns, and I want to welcome you to today's event. And I always ask during the intro, I always ask, are there any new birders here today? And I swear, every single time, I've been doing events for almost 5 years, right? Multiple events a month, and every time a hand goes up, or two, or three. So we're growing, we're reaching new people, and we clap for them. We celebrate them. We say welcome. And from the beginning, they feel like they belong. And the next thing I will say is, hey, if you see a bird or you hear a bird, point it out. Let me know, right? You're being helpful if you do that. You don't need to know what you're looking at. So now, not only do they feel welcome, they feel like they can ask those basic questions. And I always say, hey, we can figure that out together. I always find myself hanging out with the kids and the new birders. when we do our events, like all the time. That's I for the most part, I spend my time with the newbies and the kids. We are kid and family friendly. That's the next part. And we encourage parents to bring their little children, to bring them all, right? And we let them run wild, literally, not off trail, but we let them be kids. Kids have a lot of energy when they get outside. They want to run, they want to laugh, they want to have fun. They see a climbing tree, yes, climb it. They want to look at flowers and different ant squirrels and chipmunks, right? For kids, it's different. And my approach with kids, I I do group events with kids all the time. I had 36 middle schoolers one of these times, and people were like, Dexter, how the heck do you wrangle 36 middle schoolers? And I'm always like, I just let them be kids. The main thing I want for them is to have an enjoyable outdoor experience. I don't make it about the birds. As you can tell, I get a little excited. So along the way, I'm going to be excited. I'm going to see birds and I'm going to be pointing them out. I'm going to be hearing birds and I'm going to be telling people what I'm hearing and I'm getting excited. And guess what? Along the way, the kids start getting curious. They start getting curious. They start paying attention. And next thing you know, they're like, hey, Mr. Patterson, what's that one? Right? But I don't force it on them. I don't force it on them. And that is the way that I'm able to be successful with them is I just allow them to be kids. I will also tap into their curiosity a little bit. And I love asking, how many of you out there use the Merlin Bird ID app? And I know there's about 50 people's hands up right now, right? What I will do when I'm out on the trail with kids is I will say, hey, especially the kid that's really kind of locked in and asking questions, I'll say, you know what? Hey, could you be my helper? Right. So I add this level of agency for the kid. And I say, hey, there's this really cool app. And if you turn it on, it will tell you what birds you're hearing and will show you a picture of it. Can you do that for me as we walk and show people the birds that we're hearing? Right. That's another level of engagement with the kids. Now they feel empowered. Now they feel like I'm a part of this. This is for me at a young age. And I can't tell you how cool it is to see little kids running back and forth down the trail, holding up the Merlin Bird ID app and showing people like, look at this one, look at this one, and look at this one. So being kid and family friendly is a major, 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 major focus for us. Accessibility and community. We want the people in our club who bird in our club to be open-minded, right? To be welcoming to everybody, to be generous of spirit. And we invite birders from all walks of life and abilities to join our groups. And we do whatever we can to accommodate the needs of those folks. So that is a big, 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 big focus for us is being as accessible as possible and working event by event to get better at that and to make sure that we're serving everybody. We are relaxed and casual. This was another thing that I noticed in a lot of those traditional birding spaces that I was going to is they didn't have fun. They didn't. They would tell people to be quiet. You couldn't share your joy. It was very stiff. It was almost felt robotic and like cumbersome and like it just was like, ugh. Like I didn't, I was like, these people, like, I don't want to be rude, but this kind of stinks, like this isn't fun at all. So we don't tell people to be quiet. We're not going to shush you because you see something amazing. And I always tell people all the time, I'm not running around in the woods screaming, happy, making all this loud noise all the time. But guess what? When I see something cool, I'm going to celebrate it. I'm going to laugh. I'm going to smile. I'm going to clap for people that get lifers along the way. And we're going to have fun. And newsflash, I see a lot of birds. I see more birds than the people that tell people to go, shh. So it's okay. It's okay to have fun. It's okay to have fun. And from day one in our birding club, it was all about collaboration. It was all about collaboration. And we love teaming up with community partners and people with similar interests and missions. I think back to our very first event. And we had the Feminist Bird Club of Madison reach out to us immediately immediately asking us, what do we need? How can we help? They sent an email to their members telling us that we existed. We had nothing. We had we had an Instagram and a Facebook group that started. It was just us, the creators in there. But on our first event, July 24th, 2021, I had 15 birders along with myself come out that day. And as you can see, it's people of all walks of life and shades and colors that reflect our birding community. And we had a fantastic time. I did the little introduction. I told my osprey story. Folks, I have 15 witnesses. I want you to take a guess. What was the first bird we saw that day? The osprey. And the osprey came in, it did its dive, it hit the water, and it flew off with a carp in front of all of us. Needless to say, I was walking around the rest of that event with a little bit of swag. I was like walking around like bird whisperers here. So it was a lot of fun, and that was our first event. And we've been hosting monthly events in the Madison and Milwaukee area ever since. And we also do specialty events. So we not only will have those 2 events every month, but we do citizen science type events like Christmas bird count, which is really, really fun. We celebrate Black Birders Week every year. We've done it with our local zoo here in Madison, the Henry Vilas Zoo. We've done it with the Milwaukee County Zoo. We've taken our members to a national park, the St. Croix River in northern Wisconsin, to celebrate Black Birders Week. You can see here, this is Christian and I. This is Christian Cooper, host and Emmy Award winner for the Extraordinary Birder Show on National Geographic. When he came to Wisconsin, we were able to bring him here over the spring for 2 events, one in Madison and one in Milwaukee. Here on the right, what I really love is this is Christian with 3 of our kids that are part of our birding club. So you got Joy here and Roman and Willa. So these brown and black babies this is the future with the present, which I just really think was beautiful. He was so welcoming and like generous with his time. I can't thank him enough. And just a joy to have a friend like him in my life. This bottom picture here, what I love is we also host BIPOC only walks. And people all the time try to say, Black people don't go outside in the cold. Oh, yes, we do. Look, proof. We actually do. We just got to create those opportunities for folks and make sure that they're educated and know what we need to go out there and be very proactive in making sure that people are prepared for that. We also do like bird banding events. I talked about BIPOC only hikes. Look at this is 40 plus Black and brown people on a birding hike together. This is my daughter releasing an American kestrel. I promise you this, you allow a kid to hold a falcon, they will never be the same. Hold and release any bird, you will never be the same. We also host workshops in collaboration with events like Birding 101. We're doing whatever we can to improve the birding community. This is accessible birding in action, folks. This is really cool. This is one of our events that we did with Christian when he was in here. Here's Christian in the middle. But look at, there's the powered wheelchair. We always ask this in emails. Do you have any needs that we can help to try to fulfill? I went out and scouted, right, and made sure would this even work for this person out there, and really would try to be as proactive as possible to make sure that anybody can enjoy our events. But you can see this is people of all walks of life together, birding together. And what I love about, I talked about collaboration, the partnership that allow these type of things to happen, that the Southern Wisconsin Bird Alliance actually provided the electric powered wheelchair for this event. And they do that. They do that not just for us, they'll do that for other people and other organizations. This year we launched a birding backpack program. Really excited. We're going to be having it going into Milwaukee as well, and all 13 public library locations in Milwaukee. That is huge. That's the biggest city in our state, over 1 million people. So we're just trying to serve as many people as possible. And one thing I'm extremely proud about is launching of our Bus to Nature program this year, where we partnered with community organizations that serve underrepresented groups, that serve low income children and families. And we wanted to eliminate the barrier of transportation for these kids to be able to get outside. So I organized 5 different field trips for different community centers and schools to Horicon Marsh this summer, and this was fantastic. From ages 4 to 21 took place in a lot of these events. We also did one in Milwaukee where kids got to go fishing and sailing. But what we did is we reserved the bus for them. We fed the kids. We made sure that they didn't have to worry about getting there. So making what the outdoors more accessible for more people as a whole. Inclusive birding in action. This is another one of our BIPOC only events. As you can see, we got people of all ages, all skill levels, kids. Birding is for everyone. One of our members in his wheelchair. So we're always trying to create events that everybody can come together and have fun, no matter who you are, right? This is bird joy, folks. That environmental justice component, this is another one of our BIPOC only hikes. And when I always tell people about representation matters, that you can see it, you can be it. This is you can see it, you can be it, you can do it. They see Dexter leading them. They see Rita leading them. They see people that look like them leading them. And we're creating these safe spaces. And when you create these spaces for people, that a lot of the fear goes away, right? And these safe spaces create space for healing and reflection, and for people to say, you know what, nature is for me. I really enjoyed this. We have people hug trees. We touch grass. We do a lot of really different things that when people, and I do along the way during our events, I like to do what I call vibe checks, right? We might host a 2-hour event, and every 30 minutes or so, I stop, especially if I see like a nice clearing or something, and we gather together and I ask people, how you doing? What's going on? Do you need anything? Do you need water? Do you need a portable stool? Does anybody need to take a longer break? Little things like that we've learned along the way that just really add another element of accessibility to our events. And it changes the way that they experience the outdoors and they come back, right? This is over 40 Black and brown people, kids, grandparents were here, everybody. And I always say this too, people don't realize, whether you want to admit it or not, our country is browning, right? America is browning, and we need to get everybody paying attention to birds and caring about their habitats, right? Because if we don't, we're going to have a huge gap, and we're not going to have anybody there to protect our feathered friends or to protect their habitat. So when we make birding more inclusive and more welcoming, the birds and their habitats benefit as well. I'm a huge believer in what I like to call change of scenery, because I don't believe we reach our true greatness, right, in our comfort zone. I don't think that greatness exists in our comfort zone. We got to stretch ourselves a little bit mentally, physically, emotionally, to grow to our fullest potential. So what I love to do is organize birding trips that are away from where people typically go. Here you can see Christian and I and a bunch of folks. We're at Horicon Marsh here, which is the largest freshwater cattail marsh in America. It's a beautiful historic place in our state, right? It's a historical marker. It's one of the few places in the world where you can see the endangered whooping crane in the wild. And I love taking people to places like this, right? Creating opportunities where I like to call them windows to wonder. And when you open one window to wonder, it usually leads you to another one. And then you open that one and it leads you to another one and another one and another one. And that's how you get them, right? That's how you get them. They're stepping out their comfort zone and they're seeing so many amazing things. They start to care. They start to pay attention, and now they're caring. And now maybe, to that previous slide when I talked about getting everybody to care about birds and their habitats, maybe now that they're paying attention and they're caring, you can get them to do something. Citizen science. I am a science communicator. I teach science communication at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And my job is I teach the future scientists and researchers of the world how to communicate their research via media, whether it's photography or video or radio, podcasting, social media. My job is to help them bridge that communication gap with the public. And I love doing these type of things with our members as well, these citizen science projects, and really connecting science to people, right? To ordinary people, and really kind of showing them. So we'll conduct bird related research projects. We'll do things like this. This is us banding northern saw-whet owls. Trust me, if you ever hold an owl, you even look at one of these up close, you will never be the same. But this is a great opportunity for us to educate people about migration and nesting habits and human impact on these beautiful little owls, and the environmental changes and the human impact that we've been, the habitat destruction that we all partake in, and how it's impacting bird populations. So these are really not only fun learning opportunities, but look at this. You have two little brown girls literally tending a bird banding station. At this time, they were 12 years old, both of them. This is Joy, and this is my daughter, Alyssa. But Joy's been banding birds with her mom since she was 2. Right. So there's nothing that we can't do. It's all about providing the opportunities to people. So I always say, if you're in a position to do these type of things, to create these fun learning opportunities for kids, please do that, whether it's birding clubs or after school programs, or, helping, whether it's donating to organizations that are doing this type of work. These type of opportunities, these are life-changing opportunities. It changes the way that youth and kids specifically see the outdoors. We also do things like this, close encounters. This is Loki, all right? This is Loki the Crow. This is another collaboration event that we did with a local Audubon chapter outside of Milwaukee called Schlitz Audubon. And they're a raptor and bird rehab facility, as well as an Audubon chapter. And Loki cannot be released back into the wild, but Loki likes to paint. And Loki is the coolest bird ever. Like I can't tell y'all like how amazing Loki is. So what we did here is we literally, as a group, we went out to visit the property, and we got to meet all their different birds. And we got to meet Loki, and we sat in a circle around Loki, and Loki painted for us. It was so cute. He would like hop around, grab one, and dab it a couple times, drop it down, hop over, grab another one. And it was just the cutest thing ever. And Loki painted for us, and that was a birding event. I showed you that picture of my daughter releasing a kestrel. This is citizen science. These are kids learning about what these birds are, and female versus male, and we're monitoring their nesting boxes, and we're seeing how many eggs they're going to have. And it really kind of allows people to contribute to real scientific research by learning about birds and conservation. Collaboration, right now, if you think about birding and you think about the arts and you think about science, a lot of the funding for that stuff is going down, right? People are losing funding in all of these different areas. And I always say the people who are collaborating right now will be able to withstand that better. We'll be able to win. We'll be able to scale up and serve their communities more. So we're always looking to collaborate with local organizations or partner with nature centers and ornithological societies to organize workshops or guest speaker appearances, or what you see here is our annual Swift Night Out event, where we collaborate with the Southern Wisconsin Bird Alliance, the Feminist Bird Club of Madison, the local Working Chimney Swift group, and we all work together to organize this one event where we just say, hey, bring your blanket or your favorite chair and bring a picnic, and we all just sit out in this huge soccer field and we watch this chimney, and we wait for the chimney swifts to come in and start their little swift NATO and come in to roost that night. I swear, I always think like people driving by are probably like, what the heck is going on over there? Like, what are they looking at? But as they start coming in, and you might have 10, then 20, then 100, and couple hundred. And this event particularly, we had over 1,600 swifts come in that night. And as they're going into the chimney, we're like, go, 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 go. It was like a sporting event or something. It was fantastic. We've been busy. We have been busy. We've been all over the place. This is actually an article that I did with Birds and Blooms magazine, which is the biggest birding magazine in the country. And when I saw the headline, "The Flyest Birder," I was like, "Oh, okay, I like that. They get me. I think we can work together. I think this works." This was fantastic, I gotta admit. And shout out to Birds and Blooms magazine. When I worked with them, I didn't realize that they were based out of Milwaukee. So I learned something along the way. I was like, this is great. This is a magazine feature that I did with a local magazine here in Wisconsin called Madison Magazine, in my home city of Madison, called The Birdman. And it's really kind of cool to see like how we made this come together. We won gold for this story. Shout out to Patrick Stutz, the photographer for we won gold for the Milwaukee Press Club for this story. So shout out to Patrick Stutz, the photographer, Tim Burton, creative director on this from Madison Magazine. This was a lot of fun. How do I try to make birding more accessible? I developed what I like to call the Wisco Birder method. And this is the way that I teach birding to our birding club, to people that ask me about what is birding? What is a birder, right? And this is the philosophy that I like to share with them. Is the first one, number one, is I always say you do not need to be a pro. That is like, let's level set there immediately. You do not need to be a pro. I've seen this way too much where people are nervous to go to birding events. They're nervous to ask questions, even in Facebook groups, whatever, because they don't know. You don't know unless you grow, right? Unless you ask questions. So I always say, you don't need to be a pro. It's okay. All right. Take that pressure off yourself. Give yourself some grace. Then they will say, well, how do I find birds? And the first thing I say is look for movement. Look for movement. They're going to be moving in the sky. They're going to be moving in trees. They're going to be moving in water. They're going to be moving in grass. They're going to be moving in bushes. They're going to be moving on your house. They're going to be everywhere. It's like they're everywhere. It's kind of creepy, right? Yes, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. Just look for movement. You just got to pay attention, all right? The next thing I will say is listen to the music. They make some beautiful sounds, right? Whether they're singing in the spring or right now in the fall, they're chipping as they're, foraging in the trees and fueling up before they're heading to their wintering grounds. Now, not only do you have music and movement, you can start to marry the two together. Oh, they're moving. I heard something. Something moved over there. Oh, now you're starting to correlate the two and you're seeing more birds. All right. You're seeing more birds. And remember, sometimes birding isn't about the birds. Maybe you go looking for a specific bird and you don't see that, but you see a different one. Or you see an animal that you've never seen in a while before. Or you meet somebody that you haven't seen in forever from high school. These things happen to me all the time. Or you meet a complete stranger and they ask you, what are you looking at? I'm on the trail a lot, and sometimes I'll have a spotting scope, especially in the fall. Waterfowl migration is going on, and folks will see me out with a spotting scope, and they'll walk by and they'll say, what are you looking at? And I say, you want to see? And I got them right there. Like soon I got them. You get a stranger looking at a bufflehead in the winter, they're going to be like, oh my God, look at this, right? So sometimes it's not about the birds, it's about those connections, the communities, and just the experience of being outside. And focus on the bird joy. Focus on the joy of things. I know people that have been birding 20, 30 years, and over time, they become way too list oriented. And they're just checking birds off their list, and they're not even getting excited at all the amazing birds that they've seen over and over again, but that doesn't make them any less fantastic, right? So they've lost focus of the joy. When they first started, they got excited about lifers. Now they get a lifer every once a year, or they got to travel somewhere to get it, and they're just like, oh, that's just an eastern screech owl. What? What are you talking about? That's just an eastern screech owl. That is like, you're crazy, right? That's just a house finch. What do you mean? Listen to it. Look how beautiful he is right now with his red little chest, because he's trying to get the attention of his mate, and he's working really hard and he's feeding her, right? The American cardinal. See it over and over and over, but then spring comes and you see the male cardinal go to the top of the tree and start singing, letting you know spring is coming, right? Don't lose sight of that joy and celebrating those moments along the way. I use social media to make birding more accessible. I really saw this during COVID. And for me, birding was literally my lifeline during COVID. And I noticed that I was doing okay. I was doing okay because I was always outside. You know, I still miss my friends. I missed my coworkers. I missed, normal life at that time, but I had birds. I had nature. And that was when I started really saying, you know what, Dex, maybe you should start taking people on these birding adventures with you, right? Because I was getting messages, folks, from people, I have long COVID, can't get out anymore. I'm bedridden, can't get out anymore. I don't move like I used to, can't get out anymore. Thank you. Thank you for taking me with you. Thank you for taking me with you. And I started saying, thanks for joining me at the end of my videos, because of those one-on-one messages that I was getting from people from all over the world. And that was kind of really touching for me. And I realized, like, wow, I'm making an impact on people in a really tangible way by sharing bird joy, by taking people on these journeys. And then I said, you know what? The educator in me was like, you might as well teach them a couple things too. How about we teach them about what they look like? How about we start to teach them about their habitats and their preferred habitats? How about we start to teach them about behaviors? And I always like leaving folks with like a fun fact about the bird. So maybe I can turn them into that emoji with their heads blowing up. That's something that I really want to do. So I use social media to be more accessible. I'll use live streaming to take people into the field with me. I started creating the You Ready, Let's Go videos, which have garnered millions of views on social media, taking people on these birding journeys with me. I'll also post like pop-up events like, hey, I'm going to be at this local spot. Who wants to join me? I could have 30, 40 people at a birding event. These pop-up events, I might have 4, 5 people. And those are really good opportunities to really kind of connect with folks on a really personal basis. But most importantly, don't lose sight of that joy and have some fun when you're out there. When we're thinking about accessibility and growing the birding community, the next step for us was the Bird Joy podcast. Here you see me and Jason, my co-host here, Jason Hall, the founder of In Color Birding in Philadelphia. This was actually a picture that we took in October of 2022, where Christian Cooper actually invited us to a Black Birders retreat on Little St. Simon's Island off the coast of Georgia. And at this retreat, we were tasked on the last day there. Christian said, hey, I want to encourage all of you to do something to help move the birding community forward. For us, it was the Bird Joy podcast. And we are already planning and scheduling our guests for season 4, which we're going to start recording in early December. So we're really excited to be coming back with a new season real soon for you all. And to keep going on growing the birding community, I always kind of thought about doing something like this. I wanted to create a field guide that had what I like to call baby birders in mind first, but the newbie birders. I wanted to make something that was extremely user friendly. There are some amazing field guides out there, but I feel like most of them are built and made for like experienced birders, that people that kind of know what they're looking at, and then they're just going in there to double check, right? So I wanted to make something that was more of a user-friendly guide and really compact, like literally can put it in your pocket. But this book, it's small, but it's mighty. It has over 150 different bird species in it from 40 different birding families. And I wrote the book to reflect my beliefs that birding should be accessible and enjoyable for all. So whether you're a new birder or a seasoned birder, the book is for you. It's really compact. It's travel ready. It's easy to read. It's visually stunning and appealing. And it's fun to use, and it is focused on joy. There's a call to bird joy in there. I really focus on, giving people insights on birding on different seasons and the tools that you need and all of these different things. And I made it to really kind of mirror, folks, the way I create my content online, right? I really wanted to create the birding field guide that matches the You Ready, Let's Go videos. So what you'll see on all the different bird identifications in my book is I will give you the common name. I also give the Latin name, but I start with appearance. This is literally how I break down my You Ready, Let's Go videos. Then it goes into habitat, and I'm scanning in my videos. I scan the habitats. I talk about the habitats. I do the same thing in the field guide. Then I start talking about behavior. I do the same thing in my videos, and then I end it with a fun fact. Right. So I really wanted to create a book version of my You Ready, Let's Go videos to educate people in an easy way. So here's a good example of what one of those bird IDs will look like. This is the common loon, right? You get some appearance, talking about the appearance. I talk about the habitat. I talk about behavior, and I give a fun fact, and then you get a couple photos of the bird. And that's how I laid out the entire book. I had to give you the osprey, especially one flying away with a fish, right? This osprey here was actually, this was so funny. So this was from St. Simon's Island in Georgia. And this was the first birding event that we all went on. And everybody's like, Dexter, there's your osprey. It was kind of funny. Oh, man. Eastern bluebird cat. I was telling you, we saw 10 of these today. This is fantastic. But as you can see, I wanted to make it very easy. I didn't want people to be struggling and wondering what they're seeing. Eastern bluebird, big bold letters at the top. Can go through and read this. We got the length and a wingspan here, and photos and descriptions of the photos. But really, really wanted to make it as accessible as possible because I want people to pay attention to birds. I want them to pay attention to birds because that's what it's about, right? These birds, I can see these birds and they transport me back to memories. I can see these birds and they transport me back to locations and people and emotions I can feel and smells. It's so crazy. It just how much influence they have on you when you just simply start to pay attention, which was the advice my grandfather gave me. And the best birding advice that I've ever gotten as a birder is just pay attention. It's amazing what we see when we actually pay attention, folks, when we actually pay attention to these beautiful, beautiful birds that are around us, that are all colors, shapes, sizes, and abilities, just like us. And ultimately, it's about the bird joy. Right? When we start to pay attention, they bring us joy. This is Roman. I showed you Roman earlier. This was Black Birders Week last year. In 2024, we partnered in collaboration with a local rehab center, and they brung some birds for us to see. And one of them was the peregrine falcon. And that's Roman's favorite bird. And I knew that they were bringing the peregrine falcon. So guess who was waiting with camera in hand for Roman to see that peregrine falcon? That's Bird Joy. That's his sister Willa and his mother. But look at all these smiles, folks, and just what birding can do. This is Bird Joy. This is my daughter Victoria holding a chickadee dee 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 dee. Here's my daughter Alyssa with a blue jay, right? And a couple of our other members holding birds at our bird banding event. I mean, when I talk about holding a bird and releasing it, you'll never be the same if you hold a chestnut-sided warbler. I promise. I promise. Look at that joy on their faces. I want you all to pay attention to this. What do you see? What do you see in these pictures? Right? What do you see? Drop comments in some comments. What do you see when you look at these pictures? I promise you, you see people of all walks of life, of all different ages and colors. You see a lot of smiles. You see a lot of joy. You tell me what, you show up and you see a bunch of people like this on the trail and you show up to a burning event, you think you're going to have a good time? Right. Look at this.
1000%, Dexter. I'm like, like all of the ways that you bring joy, bird joy to the world. I feel like I've doubled down on understanding the amount of joy
Mm-hmm.
that just you cultivate, right? Everywhere you go. And I am so grateful to you for joining us today. I love this never hate on someone else's bird joy. Absolutely. Community at its best, somebody said. That's what they saw in those pictures.
Yeah.
Together, happy, enthusiastic, inclusive. The chat has been just blowing up the entire time with love and with appreciation. And I can't thank you enough for being here, Dexter, to help us start to wrap up Birdability Week. This week has been so amazing. I'm going to stop the recording right now, but I just want to say thank you. As soon as we stop that recording, we're going to do prizes and some other things. The fact that you have been blazing this joy journey and dragging all of us along with you, bringing us all along with you, is exactly why it felt important to have you join us tonight.
Thanks for joining me.